All right. At the top of your notebook, let's put dividing decimal. Now, the first thing that you don't need to write this down in your notebooks, but let's first review how I do division with two-digit divisors. If we have this problem, let's say 3,629 divided by 52. The way I do division with two-digit divisors, I know some teachers will teach you to round the divisor. I don't do that. I just tell you to look at that first digit. Now, what is the first number that the 5 goes into in our dividend?
36.
36. How many 5s go into 36?
6. Wait, no, 7.
7. So now what we want to do is we want to check to see if that 7 works. So somewhere in your paper you would take 52 times 7. 7 times 2 is 14, carry the 1, 7 times 5 is 35, and 1 is 36. Now, can I use that 364? No. So that means that 7 isn't going to work. So instead of 7, we need to use what?
6.
The 6. Okay, this 364 was too big. The reason I don't do the rounding is if you do the rounding, there will be times that this number here will be too small. Whereas with my way, either the number's going to work or it's going to be too big and it'll be obvious. And so that's why I don't do the rounding with the two-digit divisor. So instead we're going to take 52 times 6. 6 times 2 is 12, carry the 1, 6 times 5 is 30, 1 is 31. And since that 312 is smaller than 362, I know that the number 6 is going to be the right answer. So now that 6 goes above the 2. That is very important when we're dividing with decimals, is the location of where we put the first number in our quotient. So now we would take 6 times 52, which is 312, subtract 2 minus 2 is 0, 6 minus 1 is 5. Now I'm going to bring down the 9. And once again, I look, the first number that the 5 is going to go into is the 5. Well, 5 goes into 5 one time. Do you honestly think that 52 is going to go into 509 one time? No, it's not even reasonable. So now, instead of saying 1, we're going to go to the opposite extreme. And what is the opposite extreme of a 1 in our quotient, Dakota? 9. So now we're going to take 52 times 9. 9 times 2 is 18, carry the 1, 9 times 5 is 45, and 1 is 46. Does the 468 work? Yes. Okay? And so I know as long as it's not too big, and as long as I multiplied correctly, I know that that number is going to work. So it's going to go 9 times. This 9 goes above that 9. And then 9 times 52 is 468. And I subtract 9 minus 8 is 1. 0 minus 6 I can't do. Bar from the 5 makes it a 4, makes that 0, 10. 10 minus 6 is 4. 4 minus 4 is 0. Now, today we're going to be dividing with decimals. When we divide with decimals, in this situation, there is no decimal. So what can we do? We could put it as a remainder. I don't want a remainder. We could put it as a fraction. I don't want a fraction. So what else can I do, Declan? Put a decimal, because as we said, you can always put a decimal at the end of a number like the period at the end of a sentence. And now that I put my decimal there, now what can I do? put a 0. And that's just an equivalent number because 0.0 is the same as point nothing. Okay, we have not changed anything. So now I want to move that decimal up so I don't forget it, and then I bring down that 0. Now the first number that the 5 goes into is 41. How many 5s go into 41? 8. So I check it. I take 52 times 8. 8 times 2 is 16. Carry the 1. 8 times 5 is 40. And 1 is 41. Can I use 416? Now, so instead of 8, it's going to go how many times? 7. So then you take 52 times 7. 7 times 2 is 14. Carry the 1. 7 times 5 is 31. And 1 is 36. That 364 is smaller, so I know it's going to work, so it's going to go 7 times. And so now that 7 goes above the 0. 7 times 52 is 364. Subtract 0 minus 4, you can't do it. Borrow from the 1 makes a 0, makes that 0 10. 10 minus 4 is 6. 0 minus 6 can't do. Borrow from the 4 makes a 3, makes that 0 10. 10 minus 6 is 4. And then once again, I could add another 0, bring that 0 down, and so on, and keep working it out. Okay? That's how I divide with the 2-digit divisor. I don't do any rounding. I just simply look at the first digit, the digits in largest place value in the divisor, and I go based off of that.
For my homework, some of them I put as remainders.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, so questions about how we divide with a 2-digit divisor. Now, dividing with decimals. The first thing I want to make sure that we understand, okay, this is just, and you can put this in your notes. I want you to make a division problem, a division sign, and we're going to talk about the terms that we use for division. So that whenever we're talking about a division problem, we know the different parts of a division problem. This number here is the dividend. It makes no sense whatsoever when I say this, but the way that I remember the dividend in a division problem is I say this is where I want to end up when I would multiply my two other parts. It makes no sense whatsoever, but in my mind, that's how I keep track of what we call where the dividend is. Okay? Out here, this is the divisor. That is the number we divide by. And once again, this probably doesn't make any sense, but in my mind, divisor sounds like divide, and so that's the number I divide by. And then the answer of a division problem is called the quotient. And honestly, I don't have any way to remember the quotient. I just remember that that's the answer to a division problem. Now, as far as rules for dividing with decimals, the first rule that we always want to do is get rid of any decimals in our divisor. So, if there's a decimal in our divisor, we're going to move that decimal to get rid of that. We don't want any decimals whenever we're dividing in our divisor. Step 2. We're going to move the decimal the same amount as the divisor. So in a divisor, if we move the decimal 2 places, we're going to move the decimal in our dividend 2 places. if there is no decimal or divisor, we don't need to move the decimal or dividend. Step 3, we're going to move the decimal in our dividend straight up to the into the quotient. And then after that, step 4, divide like normal. Make sure that you put the numbers in the quotient in the correct spot. Bless you. Again. So, let's say we have this problem. Bless you. Man, everybody's got the sneezes. If we have 146 and 9/10 divided by 25, number 1 says move the decimal in our divisor. Is there a decimal in our divisor? Now, step 2 says move the decimal the same amount as our divisor. So if there is no decimal in our divisor, do we need to move the decimal? So does that mean we need to move the decimal in our dividend? Now, step 3 says move the decimal in our dividend straight up into the quotient. Well, now, since we don't need to move the decimal, we're going to go straight to the step, and we're simply going to move the decimal straight up. Now, step 4, divide like normal, making sure to put the number in the quotient in the correct location. What is the first number in our dividend that's bigger than 25? Evan?
146.
146. So where is our first number going to go in our quotient? It should go above the what step?
6.
It should go above the 6. So the first number is going to go above the 6. Okay? And then you would divide like normal. Example 2. Four and 264,000 divided by 3,900. Step 1, it says move the decimal in our divisor. Do we have a decimal in our divisor? Yes. We need to get rid of that decimal. So what are we going to do with the decimal, Owen?
Do it 2 places to the right.
We're going to move it 2 places to the right. So now we go to step 2. Move the decimal same amount as the divisor. Actually, I should say move decimal in quotient, or in dividend. Sorry about that, I should have. Move the decimal in dividend the same amount as divisor. Sorry about that. So, we moved this one 2 places to the right, so now we need to move the decimal in our dividend 2 places to the right. So 1, 2. So now that decimal goes right here. Step 3, it says move the decimal in our dividend straight up. I already did that, sorry about that. So I moved it to the right 2 places. Step 3 is I move it straight up. Now step 4, divide like normal, making sure number in the quotient are in its correct location. What is the first number bigger than 39? Autumn?
42.
So, where should the first number in our quotient be at?
Above the 2.
It should go above the 2. It's critical that you put that number in the correct location in the quotient, because if it's not in the correct location in the quotient, the decimal could possibly be in the wrong place in your quotient. And even if you have divided it correctly, you have the correct numbers, if the decimal's in the wrong location, your answer is going to be wrong. Okay, so that's why it's critical that we make sure that we put the numbers in our quotient in the correct location. Example 3. $526 and 9/10 divided by 4,800. Step 1, move the decimal in our divisor. So we're going to move the decimal in our divisor. How many places? Brian? Shayna?
2.
We're going to move it 2 places. Step 2, move the decimal in our dividend the same amount as the divisor. So if we move the decimal 2 places in our divisor, once again we need to move the decimal 2 places in our dividend. The problem is we only have one number. So then what do we need to do? Dakota?
Add a 0.
We're going to put 2 loops. 1 puts us behind the 9. 2 gives us an empty loop. That empty loop gets a 0. And now, step 3, move the decimal in our dividend straight up into our quotient. And so now the decimal is going to go behind that 0 straight up. Then it says divide like normal, making sure that numbers in the quotient are the same or in the correct location. The first number bigger than 48 is what? Wyatt? And so the first number in our answer in our quotient is going to go above the 2. And now let's do example 4. Do one more example. And this should pretty much be all the different types of problems that you may have when dividing with decimal. I say that and there's always going to be an exception. Let's say we have $2,500. Let's see here, we have 146 divided by 2,500. And so rule 1, move the decimal in our divisor. So we're going to move the decimal how many places in our divisor, Brian? I will. Shayna?
2.
2 places. And the number 1, and then step 2, move the decimal in our dividend the same amount as the divisor. Well, we have no decimal in our dividend. So what do we need to do, Declan? We're going to put a decimal like the period at the end of a sentence behind a 6. Now we have that decimal. Now we can move it 2 places. We're going to have 2 loops, empty loops. So we're going to put 2 zeros there. Then step 3, move the decimal straight up into our quotients. We're going to move the decimal straight up. And then now divide like normal, making sure that the number in our quotient goes in the correct location. The first number we can divide by 25 is what, Landon?
The 146.
And so where's the first number in our quotient going to go?
6.
Above the 6. Okay? Questions about that? Now, let's get out your math homework that you had for over the weekend. Oh, you handed it in?